Jealousy rarely looks like hatred. It often hides behind smiles, compliments, and casual conversations. Some people don't compete with you openly. They quietly study you, compare themselves to you, and slowly undermine your confidence. If someone in your life shows these subtle patterns, you may not be dealing with support. You may be dealing with hidden jealousy.
Jealous people rarely celebrate your success with genuine enthusiasm. Instead, they acknowledge your accomplishments in ways that subtly shrink their importance. When you share good news, they may quickly change the subject or offer a lukewarm response. Their compliments often sound forced or rushed. They may say things like, "That's nice, but it's not that big of a deal." Sometimes they compare your achievement to someone else's success to minimize it. They might highlight luck instead of effort when talking about your progress. Rather than asking about your journey, they focus on flaws or potential risks. You may notice they rarely express pride in your growth. They might act supportive in public but indifferent in private conversations. Jealous individuals often struggle to acknowledge someone else's progress because it triggers comparison. Your success can make them question their own progress or identity. Instead of processing those feelings internally, they project subtle dismissal outward. They may also remind you of past mistakes when you achieve something new. This behavior can create confusion because it is rarely openly hostile. Over time, their reactions may make you feel guilty for sharing good news. You might begin to limit what you celebrate around them. Their tone may carry sarcasm disguised as humor. Sometimes they offer backhanded compliments that sound supportive but feel uncomfortable. They might say, "You're lucky things worked out for you," instead of acknowledging effort. Jealousy often hides inside language that appears neutral but carries emotional distance. This pattern slowly erodes emotional safety in relationships. Their inability to celebrate your growth is not about your success being small. It is often about their discomfort with comparison. Recognizing this pattern helps you understand emotional dynamics without personalizing their reaction.
Jealous individuals often place themselves in direct comparison with your life choices and achievements. They monitor your progress closely, sometimes more than supportive friends would. Conversations frequently shift toward measuring who is doing better. They may subtly compete in areas where competition is unnecessary. Instead of sharing experiences, they try to match or surpass yours. If you discuss personal growth, they may redirect the conversation toward their own accomplishments. Comparison may appear disguised as curiosity. They might frequently ask detailed questions about your progress or income. Their interest often focuses on ranking rather than understanding. Jealous people may feel threatened by differences instead of appreciating individuality. They tend to interpret your success as evidence of their own shortcomings. This creates internal pressure that fuels competitive behavior. They may try to mirror your goals without genuine personal interest. Sometimes they adopt similar hobbies or pursuits purely to keep pace. If they feel they cannot compete, they may criticize the entire activity. They might suggest your achievements are easier than they appear. Comparison often leads them to track your failures with unusual attention. They may feel temporary relief when you struggle. This dynamic can create tension even in long-term friendships. You may notice conversations feel like performance evaluations rather than connection. They rarely celebrate differences in strengths or interests. Their sense of self-worth becomes tied to outperforming others. Jealousy transforms relationships into silent competitions. This prevents authentic support from developing. Recognizing constant comparison helps you maintain emotional boundaries and realistic expectations. Jealous individuals often mask criticism as advice or protection. Their feedback may sound thoughtful on the surface. However, the timing and tone often feel discouraging rather than helpful. They might question your decisions immediately after you express excitement. Instead of encouraging thoughtful risk, they emphasize potential failure repeatedly. They often present themselves as being realistic or honest. Their suggestions may reduce your confidence without offering practical solutions. You may notice they rarely provide encouragement alongside criticism. Their advice frequently focuses on what could go wrong. They might remind you of risks you have already considered. Jealous individuals sometimes position themselves as protectors to justify negativity. This creates emotional confusion because the message appears supportive. Over time, their feedback may make you second-guess your instincts. They may claim they're just being truthful when their words feel discouraging. Jealous people sometimes exaggerate potential obstacles. They may question your readiness or capability. Their comments often arrive during moments of excitement or momentum. This timing can reduce motivation and confidence. They rarely acknowledge your preparation or dedication. Their concern often lacks balance between risk and possibility. You may feel drained after conversations with them. Subtle criticism can slowly influence self-perception. Jealous individuals may not always realize their impact. Their behavior often comes from insecurity rather than intentional harm. Understanding disguised criticism allows you to evaluate advice objectively without internalizing doubt. Emotionally healthy relationships include shared celebration. Jealous individuals often struggle to experience joy for someone else's success. Their body language may change when you share positive updates. You might notice forced smiles or brief emotional withdrawal. They may avoid discussing your achievements entirely. Sometimes they redirect attention toward their own challenges. Jealous people may show more enthusiasm for neutral topics than your progress. Their responses can feel emotionally distant or distracted. They might congratulate you but quickly shift focus away from you. They sometimes emphasize their own struggles immediately after your success. This behavior can create emotional imbalance in conversations. You may feel hesitant to share positive life events with them. Jealousy often creates internal conflict between care and comparison. They may genuinely value you while struggling with personal insecurity. This emotional tension can appear as inconsistent support. They may celebrate minor accomplishments but withdraw during major milestones. You might notice they become unusually quiet during your achievements. They may avoid social settings where your success is recognized. Jealous individuals sometimes reduce emotional engagement to protect self-esteem. Their inability to celebrate does not always reflect lack of care. It often reflects discomfort with comparison or self-evaluation. However, consistent lack of shared happiness can weaken relationships. Emotional support requires the ability to celebrate others. Without it, connection becomes limited and fragile. Recognizing emotional withdrawal helps you understand relational patterns realistically. Jealous individuals rarely attack confidence directly. Instead, they introduce small doubts that gradually influence self-perception. They may question your decisions in ways that seem casual. Their comments often focus on uncertainty rather than encouragement. They might remind you of worst-case scenarios repeatedly. Sometimes they suggest you are moving too quickly or being unrealistic. Their words may appear protective but create hesitation. They may question your ability to maintain success. Jealous individuals often highlight rare negative outcomes. They may emphasize stories of failure in similar situations. Their comments often appear during moments of confidence or clarity. This timing can disrupt emotional momentum. You might begin to seek their approval before making decisions. They may present themselves as more experienced or knowledgeable. Their tone may imply they understand risks better than you. Over time, this can create subtle dependency. Jealous people sometimes position themselves as voices of reason. However, their advice often reduces empowerment rather than building it. They rarely acknowledge your growth or resilience. They may highlight uncertainty while ignoring preparation. This pattern can slowly shift self-trust. Confidence erosion often happens gradually rather than suddenly. Jealous individuals may not recognize their influence. Their insecurity can manifest as caution disguised as wisdom. Recognizing confidence undermining allows you to protect your decision-making clarity. Jealous individuals sometimes display unusual attentiveness during your difficult moments. They may listen closely when you describe failures or challenges. Their empathy may feel more intense during negative experiences. However, their engagement often decreases when you succeed. They may ask detailed questions about mistakes or setbacks. Sometimes they revisit past failures during future conversations. They might appear emotionally invested when you struggle. Jealousy can create subconscious comfort when comparisons feel balanced. They may unintentionally feel relief when your progress slows. Their advice during struggles may sound unusually confident or assertive. They might analyze your mistakes extensively. However, they rarely offer the same energy during your achievements. You may notice they remember details about your failures more than your successes. This pattern can feel confusing and emotionally inconsistent. Jealous individuals may believe they are being supportive. However, their emotional investment often aligns with comparison relief. They may offer reassurance during setbacks while appearing distant during growth. This creates imbalance in emotional support. Healthy relationships involve engagement during both struggle and success. Jealous individuals often connect more comfortably through shared difficulty. They may struggle to connect through admiration. This dynamic can create subtle emotional discomfort. Over time, it may influence how openly you share life events. Recognizing uneven emotional engagement helps you identify relational balance. Understanding this pattern allows you to choose supportive environments intentionally.
Jealousy is a complex human emotion, and most people experience it at some point in their lives. But when jealousy repeatedly shows up in someone's behavior, it can quietly damage trust, emotional safety, and connection. Recognizing these patterns is not about judging others or assuming bad intentions. It is about understanding relationship dynamics and protecting your emotional well-being. Not everyone who smiles at you genuinely celebrates your growth, and that realization can feel uncomfortable but necessary. Healthy relationships allow space for mutual support, shared happiness, and honest encouragement. When someone consistently struggles to support your success, it often reflects their internal battles rather than your worth. Learning to notice these signs helps you set healthier emotional boundaries without anger or resentment. You deserve to share your achievements, your goals, and your progress without feeling guilt or hesitation. The right people will not compete with your light. They will feel comfortable standing beside it. And sometimes, protecting your growth means choosing environments where support feels natural, not forced. Awareness is not about distancing yourself from people. It is about moving closer to relationships that allow you to grow freely.